Good afternoon and welcome at this event, the EuroTeQ event on education responsible professionals in the future. My name is Rob Verhofstadt. I will be moderating this event, and in my daily life I'm the president of the University of Applied Sciences in Arnhem-Nijmegen in the Netherlands, a University of Applied Sciences with 37,000 students. Today we will have a fantastic meeting around this fascinating topic. We will have many guests speaking, but it's also important to let you know that we will have lots of opportunity for you to interact and to participate in this discussion. Later on, we will explain how that works, how you can contribute. And here you already see that you can contribute by joining at Slido. You see the information in the screen. You even see like this, this thingy you can use to log on to this website, and then you can add questions and react on questions we will post in just a second. Later on, we will introduce all the guests who will be participating. But first, let's see who is actually in the audience, because we know that many people are participating, but who are you? And maybe now we can see the Slido sheet where we can see what the question is. So you can point out, if you go to the Slido website, can you show, are you a student, are you a staff member at the university, are you an academic, are you a policy officer, or the most fascinating category of all, are you other? So please, can you do so? We'll wait a second and then we'll see who is actually participating in this event. The idea for the next event is that we will play a lousy music here so that everybody can listen to that while contributing. I see that already the number is going up, so we'll wait maybe a second more and then we'll see who is among the audience. Okay, so people from the back office who are now looking at the screen, is this maybe the moment when we're going to show what the outcome is? Okay, so as you can see, the result is that most of you are staff members, academics as well. And it's also very good to see that there is a large percentage of students among us. That's very good. Okay, now for the opening of this event, of this conference, I'd like to introduce to you Professor Gerhard Müller, and he is Senior Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs from the Technical University of Munich, and that's also the university that's coordinating institution of this project. Professor Müller, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hofstadt. Honored speakers, dear guests and friends, dear colleagues, dear students. On behalf of the President of the Technical University of Munich and coordinator of the Eurotech Engineering University, Thomas Hoffmann, who unfortunately on a short term could not participate to this event. And on behalf of myself, of course, it's my honor and pleasure to welcome all of you to this first high-level event of our European University Network. We are glad to have been successful in the prestigious European Universities Initiative of the European Commission in the last year. In 2021, together with our partners in the EuroTech Universities Alliance, we look back on and celebrate 10 years of cooperation in the EuroTech Alliance with an impressive research and innovation trajectory, an established hub in Brussels and joint projects for postdocs, PhDs and young entrepreneurs. The EuroTech Alliance is a true initiative, creating now a true milestone for us to now roll out our ideas and potential in the area of education. For this, we bring on board two new excellent project partners, TalTech from Estonia and CTU from the Czech Republic. Of course, our partners EPFL Lausanne in Switzerland and Technion in Israel contribute to these efforts. Together, we are a group of 8 leading universities of science and technology, and are glad that 45 associated partners from industry and society support us in our actions. Some of them are present today, and we would like to give a special thanks to them to participate here and to contribute with their ideas. We are lucky to be anchored in diverse geographical and cultural contexts. Each partner with the corresponding innovation ecosystem provides added value and a competitive advantage to the EuroTeQ cooperation. Our goal is to utilize our different cultures and traditions of engineering education profitably for our common future, so that our diversity is a visible benefit for society. We only launched the EuroTech Engineering University last November and started to push for our firm goals to shape Europe's engineering education of the future. Today, over 100 colleagues across the 6 partner universities are contributing to our ambitious tasks. They are building an open campus, bringing our students together, connecting them with a wider society, and looking at technologically inspired value creation in a new, collaborative, and holistic manner. As universities of science and technology, we are aware of the great responsibility that we face. We must ensure that today's students and professionals are equipped for the ever-changing needs of the European job market and our societies. Universities need to adapt their curricular development. We have to develop shorter and diversified learning formats, award them with micro-credentials, and allow for individualized learning paths. Big challenges. It is therefore the common vision of the EuroTech partner universities to educate and to train the next generation of Europe's engineers so that they know how to solve problems, work responsibly in teams, can communicate, and are able to interact with industry and society across the disciplines, cultures, and educational levels. To implement this vision, we will re-engineer learning and teaching at our universities, and as such develop the engineering profession in a European context. The excellence and a responsible mindset of our talents is urgently needed. First of all, to enhance the digital autonomy of Europe in a world that is facing a new era with breathtaking changes in science, economy, society, and geopolitical shifts, where Europe has to find its own place between a new Chinese era and the United States of America. Secondly, to develop technologies and key innovations that will make a difference in delivering the UN Sustainable Development Goals and support our way of life in a healthier and sustainable planet. And of course, also to support the continuing fight against COVID-19 and its manifold future implications. Implementing new ideas that have a real impact on society needs a broad coalition of stakeholders, covering scientific insights, creation, implementation, and utilization, the whole value creation process of technology. European competitiveness is largely based on innovative ideas, and incentivizing innovation is currently strongly linked to academic education. However, creative ideas will occur from merging different perspectives of thematic fields and stakeholders involved. We open up the university environment and develop formats which allow to bridge the different sectors and levels of learners. This co-creative approach is also a vehicle against technophobia for societal cohesion, and it will hopefully enable us to better scale up our European innovative ideas. Non-academic skilled personnel can also play an important role through their special skills and competencies, as well as their special perspectives, enhancing the diversity of assets that lead to innovation. Formats of co-creation and communication are thus the key in the EuroTech way of working. Together with our partners, we now can explore our unique strengths and build up on collective intelligence. Therefore, we deliver on the new demands for future education and continuing professional qualifications of talents in rapidly changing labor markets and combine all those assets in a holistic manner. Today, we want to bring our co-creative approach on stage. We hope that you enjoy our program we have prepared for you to jointly discuss how to shape qualification pathways in Europe. Together with stakeholders from inside and outside the university, we will explore how the EuroTech Engineering University can initiate co-creative processes that ensure the alignment between grand challenges and the needed skills for a prosperous Europe. In the name of the EuroTech Engineering University and my colleagues there, I would like to thank all speakers who give this program its vital impetus. Looking forward, I'm convinced that EuroTech's innovative educational approach, the entrepreneurial spirit and dedication to stakeholder engagement can truly make a difference. So thank you so much for being with us. Enjoy the afternoon, and I'm looking forward to the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Müller. Thank you very much for these words that also show the ambition of this project. And you also outlined some of the topics that will be part of the discussion, the panel discussion later on. So thank you very much for these words. And I also hope that you will participate later on in the audience to the panel discussion. Let's move on to the next speaker, the keynote speaker we will have today. And the next keynote speaker is Professor Isabel Raymond, and she is Scientific Director of the Technical University Eindhoven in the Netherlands in the field of innovation space. And she will address to us, and also later on she will also join the panel discussion. The floor is for Professor Isabel Raymond.
Yes, thank you. I will share my screen. I think it's okay, visible now. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mr. Verhofstadt. Welcome all. I want to take you along in our vision on how to educate responsible professionals in Europe, from my background as a professor at the university, and how we deal with learning in TUE innovation space. With people in the Brainport Eindhoven region, where Eindhoven University is positioned, staff and students at university, but also in the innovation space specifically, we really aim at solving grand challenges and create impact in society. Therefore, we need to develop new products, services, and systems for which we often need new technology and knowledge. But solving these grand challenges is highly complex. It requires co-creation of many different stakeholders, government, academia, industry, and citizens. And these heterogeneous collaborations are often organized in innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystems. This is what I study in my professorship, Design of Innovation Ecosystems. And what is it? It's a network of interconnected and interdependent actors that facilitates value creation. And in these innovation ecosystems, universities become a key player. Because of the central role of knowledge creation in our society, they get the role of orchestrating these innovation ecosystems. The Eindhoven University is part of a specific ecosystem in Brainport, and we are somewhat very good at collaborating with our innovative industry. But this is not enough, because in order to bring these ecosystems alive, we need people that can collaborate in these innovation networks of heterogeneous partners. There's good news. Many students want to improve the world. They want to create impact, help solving these grand challenges. So we must make this possible at our universities, because if we want to change the world and the way we innovate, we have to start with education, and we need to innovate our education and even structurally transform it. Traditionally, universities have three missions: education, research, and the creation of social and economic impact. But education needs to be linked better with society to create that change. The Eindhoven University of Technology has created a new education vision. In order to do so, we put challenge-based learning central, where students work from intrinsic motivation in interdisciplinary teams on real-life, open-ended challenges of their own choice. Students take responsibility for their own learning. Student learning is really at the core. Ideally, students can also choose between diverse and personal learning paths. And there's a lot of attention for development of personal identity and preparation for the labor market. And they learn in context together with researchers, companies, designers, artists, societal organizations in the ecosystem. And with this vision, we aim to develop the engineers of the future, who have a T or a pie-shaped profile They combine deep disciplinary knowledge and expertise with a general level of understanding and communication skills that enable them to work and communicate with colleagues from other disciplines in a diverse environment. They have an entrepreneurial mindset and they are able to deal with uncertainty and can think at systems level. We saw this behavior already happening in student teams. For example, students that developed a family solar car for the Australian solar race. They collaborate with many different disciplines together with many other parties on societal challenges. They develop not only professional skills, but also learn to apply their disciplinary skills in context and deepen their disciplinary knowledge. They develop the required competences needed as future engineers. And they operate in entrepreneurial ecosystems together with many companies in the environment. But student team activities were and are still mainly performed next to their study. At TUA, we started to copy the learning process taking place in these teams and offer it to students in their study program, so making it an integrated part of their program. In the remainder of this presentation, I will go deeper on how we can develop these two key competences, the ability to collaborate with a variety of stakeholders and to develop an entrepreneurial mindset and dealing with uncertainty. The first, ability to collaborate with a variety of stakeholders, it can be learned by offering students the opportunity to work on real-life, open-ended challenges in interdisciplinary teams, where we offer students a choice between a variety of challenges so that they can choose topics close to their personal interests and can learn based on intrinsic motivation, from new ways of food production, sustainable housing, to many key technologies. An example of such an open-ended challenge I offer in my master course comes from Netherlands Space Office, and they ask to develop an application combining satellite data with possible other big data inputs addressing a specific social or business problem, period. That's the challenge. One of the startups that developed out of this semester course is Spacey. They developed an application to monitor seaweed farms on the North Sea with satellite data 24/7. So it replaces a process of going with the boat and divers and experts to see the conditions of the seaweed, and it helps feeding the world. They co-created with the Netherlands Space Office that offered access to the raw data, farmers to see what are their needs and to test prototypes, governmental agencies regarding regulations, and many other parties. In such interdisciplinary teams, students collaborate in the team with many different students from different disciplines, and they also collaborate with the relevant stakeholders in the quadruple helix, the challenge owners, university experts, companies, government people, and of course users. In order to do so, we literally send them out of the building to dare to interact with other stakeholders. Woensel West is a neighborhood in Eindhoven. We ask each team member to interview there at least 20 random people on a small assignment like their favorite Valentine dinner or holiday. And this learns them to take the barrier of talking to unknown people, after which they also dare this for the challenge they're working on. We also ask students to focus on human desirability, technical feasibility, and business viability when creating solutions for the societal challenges, and to balance these during the process and check the assumptions. Here with students combine social sciences and engineering. And as a next step, we also extend the arts orientation. Via the EuroTeQ network, we are able to offer students another possibility of collaboration, namely with international peers. In fall 2020, we participated in the Digital Learning Initiative, and students from Munich and Eindhoven worked together on a challenge to use interactive lighting to engage people in crowds. Then the second competence, this is having an entrepreneurial mindset and dealing with uncertainty. Well, when working on such a challenge, students learn a lot because they are pushed out of their comfort zone. They learn to manage a team, deal with a variety of stakeholders, pitch in front of diverse public, contribute from their discipline to a solution, but also deal with many uncertainties, technical uncertainties, organizational, from the user side, economic. And because there are no answers known in advance while solving these open-ended challenges, teachers learn together with students. Their focus shifts from teaching to coaching. So students need to deal with uncertainty, but even so, staff. Well, designers and entrepreneurs are good at dealing with uncertainty, so we can learn from them. Saraswati found that there are two ways to deal with uncertainty: causation and effectuation. Causation emphasizes prediction to deal with uncertainty about the future. It focuses on selecting the means, among given resources, means to achieve a predetermined goal. For example, if you're cooking a meal based on a particular recipe, that's the goal, you search for the ingredients according to the recipe. Experienced entrepreneurs often follow effectuation principles. This reduces uncertainty by emphasizing control, like pilot on a plane. And it focuses on coming up with possible new ends given a set of resources. In the cooking example, you explore the ingredients in your fridge and the available tools, the means, and you cook a meal from the different options available. This decision-making logic can be used in education. For example, in a form of an effectual dinner, it's a hands-on, cross-cultural, team-building experience that encourages entrepreneurial behavior. The entire group of students is divided into teams, and each prepares part of the dinner, starting from basic ingredients, the given means, and making what is possible and appropriate to the background of the team members, be it French, Indian, Italian, or a mix. This entrepreneurial mindset is something we have to develop with our students. By having them an action orientation, we also help them to become self-directed learners. This key to competences, collaborating with many different stakeholders and dealing with uncertainty via an entrepreneurial mindset. These are key activities performed in TUE Innovation Space, which is the Center of Expertise for Challenge-Based Learning and Student Entrepreneurship at the TU. It's a learning hub for education innovation, and it's an open community where students with researchers, industry, and societal organizations exchange knowledge and develop solutions for real-world challenges. So, summarizing, for the global grand challenges, structural changes are needed. Universities play a key role in innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystems. They should change. There is a change nodig in education models to develop the engineers of the future, of which challenge-based learning is such a new model. And more students should be allowed to follow these new types of education. Key competences for students and staff are to collaborate with a variety of stakeholders and have an entrepreneurial mindset and deal with uncertainty. I really like to practice what we preach. For example, dealing with uncertainty. So, of course, I'm open to all your questions.
Thank you very much, Professor Raymond. Thank you very much. And also very good that you are open for questions to the audience. Later on, we will have a panel discussion. But I also want to stress that there is this possibility to use Slido for everybody to put questions there, and we can also open these questions to you and to the other keynote speakers, and also use these questions later on in the panel discussion to make it as interactive as possible. Thank you very much for your contribution. It's very interesting that you also ask for strategic changes in education in order to also to answer to these challenges that we're facing. And it's very interesting that you also give examples of how you're proceeding and what your idea is of how universities could indeed deal with these, for example, grand social challenges. So thank you very much. And later on, we will have the chance to discuss with you further. Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the next keynote speaker. And this next keynote speaker is Mr. Klaus Köhler. And he is Senior Vice President, Talent, Transformation, Management at the BMW Group. And I think it's fantastic that we also have an example of that this is not only a project from a group of universities, but there is also associate partners involved who are also actively involved in seeing what needs to be done in order to educate the engineers of the future. So I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Klaus Kuller. Oh, I think we still cannot hear you, Mr. Köhler, so maybe...
Better now?
Ah, perfect. Thank you.
Better now. So thank you again, Mr. Verhofstadt, and thank you, Professor Raymond. Very interesting insight from the point of view of the universities. Dear Professor Müller, Mr. Verhofstadt, dear co-panelists, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased and honored to be here today and to be able to give some insights from the perspective of a global technology group. I would like to respond directly to the requirements of our company for future talents, for future engineers. And on the EuroTeQ website, you could already read the teaser. I won't repeat that again, but I would definitely jump right into it. What exactly do I mean by that? First, diverse teams, different perspectives, individual strength. In today's and tomorrow's industry, we definitely do not need a one-fits-for-all approach, but ambitious people who bring their different experiences, perspectives, and talents, competencies, personalities in such a way that an excellent result is achieved in the sense of our corporate goals. For the company and society to benefit from this diversity, the BMW Group has been cultivating an inclusive culture for years and is focusing on teams that reflect society as a whole. In this context, for example, it is essential and critical for the success to motivate female participants in STEM courses and to promote the development of women in appropriate occupational profiles. Competent STEM employees are our key to success. We do not want and can't do without female experts and executives under any circumstances. Let me be very clear on that at the beginning. Diversity in every dimension is an indispensable element for the future of the BMW Group. Diversity and individuality make us strong and innovative and contribute significantly to the prosperity of our company. Next topic, excellently trained engineers bring the future of mobility to the streets with their state-of-the-art competencies, their courage, curiosity, and willingness to perform. State-of-the-art competencies, what exactly is this meant by? Is it the right technical education? Are there overarching competencies? Is it about cognitive ability? All of this, ladies and gentlemen, are undoubtedly key features for our success. The Technical University of Munich and all other universities involved in the EuroTeQ initiative have always been the guarantee that students who have overcome the high entry hurdles will be able to access the labor market as highly qualified graduates with their expertise after an equally application-oriented and research-focused course of study. This is still the basic requirement of the BMW Group for engineers of the future, a sound technical university education. And I'm pretty fundamental on this part. No compromises there. Sound technical education. Incidentally, we observe in this context that the requirements for the level of qualification are becoming ever deeper and, on the other hand, ever wider than in the past. We are all aware that excellent studies and only from time to time further qualification is less and less sufficient to survive in the modern world of work. What we have been observing for years is that the half-life of knowledge is decreasing and that, unlike in the past, we must continue to learn throughout our working life. This applies to all disciplines, but to a particularly high degree to the further development of technology. The fact that requirements and job profiles are changing in this context is not new. But what is new is the speed, the dynamics, and the complexity with which change takes place. Digitization is accelerating technical, economic, and social developments in a way that also fundamentally changes learning. In the future, knowledge and competencies will be less and less able to be trained on stock. Keyword, lifelong learning. Graduates and universities, also we as a company, must also be prepared for this with our offers. And here I also come to the topic curiosity I have quoted. Curiosity is crucial for students, graduates, and all of us in order to stay on the ball with our knowledge and to succeed in the modern world of work. In addition to technical competencies, there are undoubtedly many overarching competencies that are essential. Let me highlight some particularly important issues here. Methodological competencies, such as new working methods, for example, Scrum, LESS, design thinking, are just as important as the technical expertise. Problem solving, the use of digital work equipment for virtual and international cooperation is playing an increasingly decisive role. Product development and production processes are becoming increasingly complex, require today a much higher speed, a strong and appropriate failure culture, and of course, customer understanding. Therefore, the interdisciplinary nature of competencies is essential. Of course, we need specialists who understand the technical, IT, and the economic facets of the technologies. For example, a strong networking of chairs and teaching contact can prevent monocompetencies. This is also about the ability to speak with other disciplines. Industry needs practitioners, not only theorists, meaning that we need associates who bring their well-thought ideas to practice. Practically trained graduates can apply their knowledge even faster and apply innovations. Industrialization competence is a critical success factor to implement tasks in a targeted manner and integrate them into an overall complex system. The car is one of the most complex technical systems. The ability to keep an eye on the big picture and to be able to integrate the individual topics, technical topics, into a complex overall system at any time is also important for us. System integration is therefore a crucial competence. Finally, students and graduates become part of a company and thus a culture of cooperation. Soft skills, as we say, such as team spirit, creativity, finding solutions, but also courage to controversy and willingness to perform are particularly deciding. As I have already indicated, there's another often neglected dimension besides technical and overarching competencies, which decide when it comes to job success, the mindset or even the personality. While the competencies combined with the cognitive ability determine what a person theoretically can do, the personality has a significant influence on what the person will actually do. For a long time, grades were a central part of the employer selection. Of course, they still are, but followed by the increasing use of performance test methods. Today, we are also researching strongly in the direction of promising personality factors based on the 5-factor model, the so-called Big Five. To overcome future challenges, it is essential, for example, to have a strong openness to experience, a healthy self-esteem, and also the ability to cope with criticism, stress, and controversy. At the BMW Group, we try to capture the personality dimension through specially developed test procedures and thus make our employee selection even more accurate. But it is also important, as you certainly all know, that absolutely stable personality traits can't be generated by a single training. They lie much deeper under the surface and are influenced by education, experiences, social circumstances, and so forth. As a possible consequence, maybe university might also think about including those dimensions in the selection process, in the education process, and the knowledge of certain central personality dispositions of the students could also provide valuable clues for a targeted design of the teaching and learning environment. In addition to the mentioned competencies and personality traits, I would like to address two other points at the end of my keynote that are crucial for future employees. First, today we live in a world full of paradoxes and conflicting objectives. This trend will continue and intensify towards permanent volatility with extreme rushes such as the corona pandemic. We face ongoing challenges like politics, regulation, CO2, financial, economic, and humanitarian crises, environmental disasters, and so forth. As a result, external expectations towards companies for ethical and sustainable behavior have also increased. And their leadership comes into place. Leadership does not only take place within the company, but is effective when it has an eye on the environment with all stakeholders. The answer to this volatile, paradoxical world at the BMW Group is a common understanding of leadership. In addition to leadership performance, like decides, to deliver, to collaborate, it also addresses the necessary attitude. This attitude is also relevant for future employees. A world full of paradoxes requires a mindset that enables to deal with dualities. It's not about meeting these attitude dualities at the same time. It rather means being able and willing to consciously choose the most effective behavior from a broad repertoire, demonstrating the appropriate attitude for the specific context and situation. This will allow to unfold and develop the full performance potential. Thus, leadership and the employee's performance serve the organization, the customer, and important society. And second, our corporate values of responsibility, trust, openness, transparency, and appreciation. These values play a key role in the requirements of our employees because they build the foundation of our understanding of how we work. These are also reflected in our corporate strategy and our employer positioning. And let me really state one thing. In the last couple of minutes, you've heard a lot of requirements, but it's also about a promise. We offer our employees the platform, the resources, and the working environment so that they can, want, and may make an impact by delivering excellence, grow personally through sustainable development, and shape the transformation by creating the individual mobility of the future. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm really looking forward to your questions and to the panel discussions. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Mr. Klaus Köhler. Thank you very much for a very interesting speech you gave, keynote you gave. And also you talked indeed about many requirements, but also in the end, you also added to the fact that it's not just requirements, but also promises as well. And these requirements were very interesting. I also think we have the opportunity in the panel discussion to talk about these and how you see this, and also to see how this relates to what we heard from Professor Raymond. Before we go to the panel discussions, we have the opportunity to see if there are questions asked by the participants, and that's the case. So we have a short opportunity for that, and then we move on to the panel discussion. There is one question that was also liked by many of the other audiences, and therefore I want to read this question. And I cannot see what is in the big screen, but I think that you now put in the big screen, these are very good ideas, reacting on the two keynote speakers. Can we achieve these goals in our mass universities with care keys of 1 to 60? And I guess that means one staff member on every 60 students. That's I guess what they mean with it. Isabella, or?
No, we have a ratio around 1 on 20. 125, but we aim 120 to 118 even. But so we are around 20. So 160, I don't think that's possible, no.
Okay.
So because it's way more coaching, and we are looking into it in how to scale up, and but I think that's difficult.
Okay, so what you're saying is, in your case, luckily that's not the case. Well, I guess that this member in the audience means that in his university, in a mass university, that is the case. And is it then that you say, well, indeed, if it's 1 to 60, one staff member on 60 students, then forget it. It's impossible.
No, I never give up. So I would say, let's search then. So I was not yet confronted with this. But then, yeah, let's say, look together, how and what can we copy and what is most essential to offer students the key learnings, what is the ideal, say. So no, let's talk about it, but it's not so easy, I think.
Can I also ask something else to you, Professor Raymond? You heard that that we had this vision from BMW that was saying that maybe top of the list is the sound training, the wider and deeper, excellent training. And is that in competition with what you were saying, or is it at least maybe a different list of priority setting?
No, I think I emphasized really the combination. So it's really deep knowledge, but also the broader. And I'm convinced, because we see it happening in practice, that students learn based on intrinsic motivation. They see, oh, in order to solve this part, say, of the seaweed challenge, based on satellite data, just, okay, now I need more in-depth artificial intelligence or algorithms or whatever, then I'm going to search for it. But it's less pre-programmed, but students really still learn a lot. And they develop, I think it's really coherent with what the previous speaker said, because they develop as diverse people with different expertises. So it's not that you know beforehand it's a mechanical engineer, so he knows this and this and this and these courses, but he can show, I learned this in depth and this in depth and that in depth. So we still have to develop this more concrete via micro-credentials or other stuff. But I think that's the future. So it's a combination where you go in depth, but instead of following the normal path, there is more flexibility, and based on your own needs and what you see, what you need to develop, you go there. And what we offer at universities is a minimum that you have to be really, say, a mechanical engineer or an engineer from the university, but then they develop their own paths. So I think it's a combination. And the only thing, when I heard the talk, I thought, yes, but we want really sheep with 5 legs. So it's really a lot. But I think it's still necessary to combine.
Okay, so
I fully agree.
Sorry, Mr.
Yeah, I fully agree. There's no competition. I think we have there a common understanding of a sound fundamental education at the universities, of lifelong learning with maybe micro-credentials or nuggets whatsoever, and even have a broad understanding of how practice works with all the interdisciplinarity we see.
Okay, and there was also an interesting thing that Professor Raymond said about the sheep with the 5 legs. This is also something we're gonna repeat when we have the panel discussion, because I'm also very interested to hear from students' perspective, how do they feel about having to develop 5 legs. But we'll come back to that a little bit later. Let's see if there is a question for one more time for one more question from the audience. Okay, let's see which one we do. Yeah, let's do the top one, and then we move to the panel discussion. You can read it possibly yourself, Mr. Köhler, if possible. Can you expand again at the personality dimension of future talents, and how could universities help to shape them?
So the personality expansions, they are the big five, like emotional stability, openness, compatibility, extroversion. This would be another keynote, I guess. So it's really hard to give a speech in 3 or 4 minutes, but these big five, what we have to know is that these big five cannot be easily trained and generated. But I think these traits are heavily influenced through experience and education. And I think even school or family, or also in the companies or universities, we can try to live and to be a role model on these attitudes and traits, and lead by example to really influence these traits. But to be honest, let's go to a training and then be more open. That won't work.
Okay, thank you very much for this. Let's move on to the panel discussion. And for this, I do not only invite the keynote speakers, but we also have new people we will be meeting, and they are also now in the screen. And I already introduced the two keynote speakers, so I will not do that again. But I will introduce to you firstly Nicolas Tarmot. I'm not sure if we can see him already.
Yes, I can. Oh, I'm not on screen, but I think you can hear me.
Okay, well, I already introduced you, and I'm sure that in a minute you will also appear in the screen. So now it's still a mystery for us how you look like, but in a second we will know. Nicolas Tarmot, he's a student microengineering at École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, and he is member of the EuroTeQ Student Council, which is fantastic. Maybe can you say 1 or 2 things about what it all involves to be member of the Student Council of this project?
Well, yes, the Student Council is sort of a network, an alliance of all of the student representative associations of each university in the EuroTeQ project. So I'm in AG Poly, which is the student representative team in EPFL, and we talk to all of the representatives in the other universities. And what we basically do is meet every month, talk about everything that's being done in EuroTeQ, what we think we can bring, what we think is good, what we think is bad. Often we have a lot of the working groups that come to us to ask us for a student perspective, so we gladly help them. We helped organize, for example, the hackathon that happened a few weeks ago. So we're here to give a student view, to give a student input, and I guess create the future of universities that also helps students and something that they like.
Okay, thank you very much, and wonderful that you're here. I also like to introduce to you 2 colleagues. One is Sophie Berglik-Agard, and the other one is Katrin Joel Jensen, and they are founders of Incept Sustainability, and that's a Danish e-learning and analytics startup. So welcome to you. Wonderful that you are here. Nice together in one room, so that's wonderful. Can you perhaps try to explain to us shortly, what is your startup about?
Yes, we have developed a e-learning platform, which we have combined with a survey tool so that you both can learn and actually survey your employees around sustainability. We've designed the platform to help companies engage and train their employees around sustainability, to help them drive sustainability through employee initiatives and actions.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Before we move on with some of the, we divided in three topics. Firstly, I want to say to the audience, there still is the opportunity for you to post questions, and then we'll see which of those we can also put forward to the panel. And later on, we'll also have some direct questions for you to react on. Before we start with the topics in the panel, I'm very curious that either Nicola or Sophie or Catherine, if you have something that is on your mind after listening to the two keynotes, something that you fully disagree with or that you fully want to support.
I think I have more a mix of the both. As I've been hearing, I agree with a lot of things Mr. Kuller said about how we're going fast, how we're innovating, the world is growing, we're having yes, this economical growth. We all see the graphs that all go up that describe a planet in 2050 that is not looking very good. So that's where Isabel comes up. And I think that there's something that needs to be talked about, because I guess doctors are here to save lives. Lawyers are here to bring justice. And I think that engineers need to be here to develop technologies that will not only help people, but also the planet and humanity. And I think that's something that I missed a bit, that Mr. Kuller missed a bit. And at the same time, to bring up this engineer, all these new innovations, you need to have the technical expertise to do so. And there are some things that I did not agree completely with Isabel, and that I thought there were things that could be adjusted, but I guess we'll see in the panel discussion later.
Okay, wonderful. That's a good promise. Thank you. Maybe
yeah, I think we have also been to a lot of talks where now we were just recently students. We only just graduated both within the past year. And often when we have these panel discussions where we include professors or maybe expert in industries, we're really good to speak on the behalf of the students and what we want from the students. And all of this co-creation is about remembering to include students. So I just want to put a reminder out there then that if we have these discussions, that we should remember to actually maybe have a student speaker as a keynote, and also include student opinions a lot more, and respect them when they are out there in the industry. So we don't always end up listening to the senior people, because we actually have quite a great voice in the young people now, especially with the global challenges and how technology is developing.
This is excellent, because my first question was, what would you think are the key elements in what is central in this discussion, how to educate future responsible professionals in Europe? If you would do this keynote, what would be in this keynote? What is the key element, if you would?
Yeah, I think what we also were talking about is that we definitely need to educate people around some of these topics. At DTU, for example, we have a great course called co-creation, and that's actually a course that many students take to be ready to tackle this different approach to development and innovation and technologies. And that's not just students from the more creative study lines, it's also students from software and mechanical engineering and so on that takes these courses. I think also a key competence is really communication, which I think often at the technical universities, we often forget that kind of leg, and to actually be able to communicate across the different fields within engineering, and also communicate with the business leaders and so on that are in companies, is really key to advance throughout this. And I think that's a skill that is often thought of in the university as something that we know, but actually I think it's something that we should include much more in the education programs, and that's across all technical programs.
Yeah, and if I can add one point, I think we also really need to teach the students of the future to learn, like to adapt to all these new technologies, because the technologies we will be working with in 20 years, we can't fathom right now. So we need to create students that are able to adapt to this changing, constantly changing technological landscape. So we're ready to adapt. And I think that is just as important as being both having a good horizontal knowledge and a deep technical knowledge.
Yeah, thank you very much. We also will be talking of some of the topics you mentioned in this panel discussion. Before I move on, Nicolas Tarmot, what would you put as the key factor in education future engineers?
Well, as I was saying, it was this idea of having engineers that work for good, and I think that a lot of that comes from sort of awareness that needs to be taught in the university. I can think of multiple examples. For example, this year we had an engineering project, and at the end we had to do a whole chapter on what was the environmental impact of the product we just created. So we had a whole life cycle analysis of the aluminium, where it came from, and that's something that it's not always done, but it gave us sort of perspective of a broader impact that we're having. If a university is in this mindset of sustainable innovation, then the students that will come out of it will have the same aspect. And I see that EPFL is doing a lot of effort in creating a better environment for students to work, not necessarily only through classes, but just the way the campus is. For example, helping creating a vegetarian restaurant, having a vegetarian day once per week, putting forward female researchers. A lot of these little things that are not really courses, but create this environment of, okay, I'm working on an innovative campus that's also very sustainable and is careful about this. Then it also creates it shapes an engineer that will think the same way. And I think that's some things that cannot be, that need to be addressed.
There is a question from the audience that is also focusing on the form of teaching. And the question is, do students embrace these new formats of learning, or do they prefer the traditional ways of learning, which might probably seem like a safer choice? Who likes to react on this one?
Yeah, I can do.
Yeah, please.
So yes, there are really many students that like this. It really increasing number over the years. So it's not yet covered all. So on our university, we have 13,000 students, and we have 2,200 students that go through the type of courses we offer, not the traditional, but really challenge-based learning. So just to give you an idea, these are already quite some numbers, but we are not yet there. Mainly also because we need to have the teachers seeing it. But I think from the students, the demand is there.
Okay, clear enough. And I also think that the student and the former students who are now doing a startup already also reacted on this. Let me start the first theme of discussion in this panel discussion, and that is the gap, if there is a gap, between the industry challenges and educational focus of universities. And it's interesting because we had two keynotes, one from the university perspective and one from business industry perspective. And also maybe we could say that if you add this up, it will become a sheep with 5 legs. I don't even know if that's an international saying, but I guess everybody understands it. In the Netherlands, you can say this, but I'm not sure if you understand. Yes, I see many people nodding, so that's okay. Isn't it that if you add these industry perspectives to the university perspective, we're over-asking students, we're over-asking?
No. Really not, because really, as I said, students want to improve the world and do things that matter. So if you give them real life challenges that come from outside, they are way more motivated and they learn also more and better because it's really for real and it's with real people and having real impact. So, and for us, we have more challenge owners, people from outside, than we have now students say. So we need to do more at the inside to get to upscale than with the outside world, because really the companies and all governmental and designers, artists that work with us are really happy and they want to do more. So we have to say no to people because we now really have to upscale from the education side, that we have enough students. So I really don't see a conflict. We don't have this problem, not at all.
No, and I fully agree. So we don't look for the sheep with 5 legs. but we did a worldwide research of what matters for future and potential associates. And it really comes to three major aspects. That is, they want to shape the mobility of the future. This is one basic element of our employer positioning. And that's not what we invented here. It's just we ask a lot of students, we ask universities and so forth. The other thing is make an impact. Top performance is really one major driver for future employees. Make an impact. And also what becomes even more important, also in Germany, but especially in the Asian countries, grow personally. And I don't mean grow personally like doing becoming senior vice president. It's just grow as a person, as a human, and grow competencies and grow via success. So that really is not a thing where requirements we invented here in Munich and say that's what we expect. No, it also what students and other entities reflect when we ask. And we are not at BMW all superhumans, not at all. And yeah.
Thank you very much. I also checked this quickly with the students. I also, I'm sorry, I'm saying students and former students, but I checked this with you. Do you have this feeling, well, we have to do too much on every level, and this is too much? And if so, if not, then it's not a problem. If so, which of the 5 legs would you try to make a little bit smaller?
I think that an engineering student should have competencies in different levels. You should have different courses, different types of courses, maybe with projects. It can be traditional classes, as we're saying, some of these more extravagant classes also. And all of these like soft skills that are asked by the companies, a lot of them come from extracurricular activities. Some of them might come from projects, but mainly all of the students that I know, all of their experience in this comes from going to association events, working with, participating in on-campus events with friends, going to these student associations. There are a lot, and they all work in same like little businesses where you have like different people working together. And this is where you get your soft skills. And I think that during the classes, you learn all of the technical keys that you need to work. And one of the problems that I see with this big companies that influence the way that we think is, for example, I'm just gonna take the example of BMW. I know that they have a lot of influence in Munich. So that means that me, a student in Switzerland, will I have the same chance to get in BMW as a student in Munich that had a specified class in engines that was asked by BMW, for example? And there's also another problem that comes out of this, is that if there is this class of engines by BMW, am I dropping another option? Am I just doing this to get to BMW and at the expense of losing other classes and other competences that should help me as an engineer? Because an engineer needs to be versatile. I can think of 10 ways of capturing pressure, for example, a pressure gauge. It can be capacitive, it can be inductive, it can be resistive. And if I don't have enough knowledge of how capacitive, inductive, and resistive materials work, then I won't be able to be a versatile engineer. And I think that also hurts curiosity, and this 5-legged sheep then actually comes from a lack of corporate influence, I think. I mean, of course, there should be classes, for example, of engines. I'm not saying this, and I'm not trash talking BMW. It's just that I can talk about every university has the same way of working. I can give 10 examples here at EPFL. But I think that's a point of student view that is something that I often hear when talking to other friends.
Thank you very much. I can understand why you are in the student council. And I'd like to ask the last question in this section, only in this section, then we move on. And that is to Sophie and Catherine. if you look back to your study, do you feel well prepared for your job, or in your case, for being an entrepreneur? Also listening to the keynotes, what they said about how they think that the preparation should be. Now, from your perspective, what do you think?
Yeah, I think actually it's kind of the same point as we had were talking about before. And also maybe I think we maybe didn't mention actually our startup has been acquired by Rambøll. So we're actually now part of a big consultancy house and are driving our software further there. So we do have a bit of a different role today than we had last year. But I think this deep dive into very specific technologies, that's at least not what I have been using at all in my field of work, both in the entrepreneurship world, where we have used everything else and all the soft skills that we've learned throughout our studies has been the most important part. How we solve challenges, how we deal with uncertainty, which was one of the things that was mentioned before, and so on. These has been the most important thing for us to succeed as a startup and now get acquired by a big consultancy house. And I know that that's true for many other engineers as well. They learn something super technical and then they end up in a job where they actually have to relearn all of the technical stuff because it's so specific to the company that they work in. So the more important part to get out from the university is really, how do I learn and how do I learn fast a new topic, and also exactly how do I deal with uncertainty, how do I solve a challenge, and as I said before, how do I communicate around these topics.
Thank you very much. Can I ask you, sorry, you wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, I completely agree with Catherine. And I think one more thing to add is these practical cases. And that's where we really work together with industry. And it doesn't have to be an engine class, but just like a case competition, or where you are working with different cases in different groups, but where you go out and you meet the companies and you get the real life experience. And I personally think everyone should try an internship of some sort. It's very valuable learning experience to actually go out in industry, and then when you go back to classes you get a completely new perspective that you can then use when you come back to industry when you're finished.
So thank you. It also sounds that that you also not only have to wait until what curriculum offers to you, but I also hear in what you're saying that you also took initiative yourself and also found ways to add to the maybe standard curriculum in order to have these soft skills set, as you described, which enabled you to come where you are right now. Thank you for that. Well, now as a sort of short intermediate, we have a graphic recorder who has been paying attention to what has been happening so far, and that is Mr. Matthias Schweitz. And he will show us what he made out of the graphic record of what we have been doing so far. So perhaps you can see his result. And perhaps, Matthias, you can explain a little bit of what you have been drawing and how that reflects what we've been doing here. And I think that you are muted.
Yes, yeah. I was just explaining that I have to unmute. so I'm and I know the time will come when I have to show you what I have done, and I'm now yeah, I will try because you will see it's a lot of things you were talking about, and you are really deep in your themes. So you know what you're talking about, and for me, it's a really hard stuff. It's a really big learning. So what I've seen is okay. Mr. Professor Gerhard Müller, sorry for that, was explaining what EuroTeQ is about and what they look for in the future, and what they want. I don't want to explain the things I have put in here. I only want to explain the links. You see what he's talking about, and then you see something like a string or something like this is going direct to the next speaker, where you have all the things where you're talking about the ecosystem, the university, and what's all about to help the students, or what they mentioned to bring all good for the students. And the next is you have the view from Klaus Köhler, and he's talking about the students as something. I put it here. It's something like you have to be a super student because there are so different things they have to learn, and they have to be a very great person, and all the things we were talking about were really, it's a really complex world, but they are combined. They are really combined. And then afterwards you were talking about these things, and this is like what is in English Ausrufezeichen. It's something that you said the right thing. Yeah. So we were talking about the same things, but on the perspective of the students. So that was that from my side.
Thank you.
I have always to do a really big job, because I have to make it colorful, and I have to sort it a bit, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Matthias Schweitz. And I see that you have been drawing quite actively, and you came with the conclusion it's a complex world. That's I think a very good summary of indeed what we've been talking about. The good news is that all the people in the audience will be able to get the drawing afterwards, and you also will come back with us later on with the new drawing, or an add-on onto this drawing, and the people in the audience will get it later on, so you can study it and see all the details that were perhaps not visible right now. The second section of the panel discussion will be about this complex world, and the complex world is, we're now going to focus on the discussion on co-creation. That was already raised, this topic, both in the keynotes as well in the first part of the panel discussion. How can we make all perspectives heard and work together eye to eye? Universities, industry, society, and how can we engage in co-creative learning opportunities, bringing students together with professionals. This co-creation is in the heart of the idea of this project. We also heard this at the opening speech. So this is something that many people like to hear, and at the same time everybody also agrees that it's very difficult. So I asked people in the panel, what do you think is key to making co-creation work? What is most essential?
Yeah, being really open to it. So, and as a comment also to one of the students, our team, our innovation team, is more than half students. So we really collaborate with the students. From them, we feel what they need, and they say work as student assistants, but it's way more. They have big responsibilities in our team. So that's the first co-creation, putting the students central, literally. They are even cluster leader in our teams. So really giving a position to the students, and then being open to talk to the people in the outside world, invite them, say daily, and set up projects and challenges together with many people. But it's more the mindset than anything else.
I fully agree. So I mean, the openness is the one thing, but really to be honest and willing to do a co-creation is, on the other hand, essential for me as well. It's not a matter of what kind of platforms or technical topics we have to install. I mean, there's so much substance and competence within the universities, industries, and so forth, that it could be easily set up a co-creation, but it's really willing openness and willing to co-create. And I'm fully convinced that we will find a decent way to go one step beyond.
That's very good. Before I move on, I also want to remind people in the audience that you can still put your questions in the Slido, and also it would be nice if you could also add to the topic which we're now discussing, which is the co-creation. This is also, it sounds like we need openness in order for the co-creation. And nobody will disagree with this, I guess. We can ask around, but everybody will say, yes, of course, we need this. Where is it difficult? Because co-creation is difficult. So where is really what's the element that we really need to work on in order to get to the higher level of working in co-creation?
It's often going out of your comfort zone, because we are used to do things in a certain way. I can say in universities, it's not often co-creation when new things are set up. So it's for many people, it's not how they are used to do things. So this is something new. It's a change. So then, yeah, it's dealing with uncertainty, as I already said. So being open to it sounds very easy, but many people did not try, never talk to people outside of the university, say negatively, black and white. But yeah, that's what I see.
But the good news, the good news is there are really excellent examples already in place. If I may say so, Professor Müller, we have set up a continuous dialogue with the TUM on latest learning formats, latest training formats, and we are in a continuous exchange of expectations, of possibilities, and there are really good examples in place where co-creation is still ongoing. And I know that this is a very young plant, but it's not difficult. It's not technically difficult to set this up.
Okay, thank you.
I agree.
Can I say something on the difficulty? Yeah, so I think one thing that co-creation is often linked to is a more flat structure, like everyone should have a voice, we should be open, we should listen to each other, which is really great, but we also still need to input structure in some way to this, and that can sometimes be the challenge when you're trying to create this open culture where everyone can speak their mind. So then sort of how do we move forward from this? Who is taking charge? Who is facilitating some sort of structure in the co-creation? And that can sort of, because structure can also sometimes kill the co-creation. So finding the balance between structure and working together all in sort of a flat hierarchy can be tough.
And maybe to add a point that both address the openness and the structure part, I think I at least speak on our behalf and the rest of my study line. I think we are super open to co-creation. That's not an issue between students, at least. Now I speak from Denmark and my study line, but that's not the problem. I think it's the structure of how we do it and do it more efficiently that are the key elements from the student perspective, at least.
Okay,
Yes,
but now we're saying the students have no problems with being open and leaving a comfort zone. Universities don't have a problem.
No, universities have. Some staff have. We have really a lot of innovative staff, but not all staff is yet in that line.
Yeah. So we need to find. So there are two things. So probably we need to find those who support this movement towards co-production, co-creation. And the other thing is also interesting. We need a structure. We need structures in order to facilitate openness, facilitate leaving your comfort zone, etc. That's what I heard. Is this project, so this is a European project, 8 universities, so many more associate partners. Is this what you mean with the structure we need? Question to all.
Often the problem with these groups working in co-creation is that everybody is at the same level, as we were saying, and often there's someone that needs to take the lead to say, okay, the meeting is adjourned, we need to do this, and that's often something that misses. And that's why a lot of these groups have troubles working fast and working efficiently, is that you're missing someone that's giving straight directives and that's a bit leading the group forward. Instead, the feeling that we get is that everybody's working at the same level. There's ideas coming left and right. Everybody's agreeing, but nobody is taking the notes and pushing the best ideas forward. Everybody's trying to pull on different strings, and often the conversation doesn't get centered. And I think that's one of the main problems on co-creation that comes back to what was said, is that if this structure exists where students are eager to learn, all students are super students, everybody's curious, so everybody will want to get this experience of working with different people, of working with experienced people. And yes, the problem is that that there needs to be some sort of person that is designed to give the deadlines and to make sure that the deadlines and the work in progress is going forward. And this can be seen even on small projects of 3 or 4 people. There's always someone that takes the lead, and there's always someone that pushes forward and that sends the messages. We're meeting tomorrow to work on this. And that's a problem that I saw sometimes with the working groups on co-creation.
Yeah, I was also, somebody noticed that indeed there was a question from the public, and that said, supporting, how will the European cooperation make these formats better and why? Can we maybe, yeah, I think we talked about that topic now. So maybe we can move on with a question that's also now put there. And that was a question to Professor Raymond. I like the idea of introducing more challenge-based formats for students. How will the European cooperation make these formats better and why? That's the entire question.
Yeah, well, I think we can learn from each other. So we developed something, but I'm really eager to learn from the other partners in the consortium, how they do things. So in that sense, we can learn. And perhaps the most important for the students is that they can interact with students internationally. So have challenges together with students from completely different cultures and environments. And I think that's really added value. This is what the pilot already showed in fall last year, that they all find it really interesting, and they learned completely different ways of working, because we have our own in our university. So I think staff can learn and students can learn by doing it in these challenges. So I'm really happy this is being set up.
Okay. Thank you very much. Another question from the audience I want to put for you. That is, as right of now, what structures are at the universities, do you feel, counteract the desired goal? That we as students focus on learning for the sake of learning?
Yeah, I think that's the traditional. So I really like, also one of the students mentioned that, or former students, learning to learn, this is key. I think I really believe this. So this is what we should facilitate. But therefore the education structures need to change, because now all focus is on courses, or the traditional focus is we have courses central, and we need to put the students and student learning central. So this means the education system needs to change. For example, just only the management learning platforms, they are all centered around courses, which should change, because it's what the students want to learn. So you should enable students to track competences and develop these over several years, assess that in a completely different way, and also look at this from coaches and mentors and experts, and allow that with flexible modules. When they see, okay, now I like to learn this, then they can find it. So I think the whole education system, at least in Eindhoven, is not yet, we have an impression, we have an idea, we have a pilot and some things ready, but not really to support learning of students completely, which is really a big change from now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Isabel. Can I just ask a question to Isabel? Aren't you scared that this will impact the general level of excellence in the university? For example, in a technical point of view, for example, can we trust students to take classes that will give them the necessary keys to work on the industry and to have the necessary knowledge to do so?
Yes, we still have to implement also on a larger scale, but yes, I'm convinced.
I think your sound disappeared.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
You were
Yes.
for a second, but now we can hear you again.
Okay. So yes, if you see just for the solar team or whatever challenge students work on, they go really in depth because students want to win, know the best. So for example, at the solar car, they needed the best batteries. Eindhoven won 4 times in Australia with the family car. They really were ahead of all courses on batteries in the bachelor they could take because they ran so deep to really have the best car in the end to win in the challenge. So yes, they can go deep. And if we have the modules available for them, they will search for and even search in the literature and go in depth. So it even doesn't have to be pre-packed everything. So I'm not afraid, yeah, they will perhaps have not all the same luggage. So a mechanical engineering like you have it now will not be the same as an engineer of the future. They develop their own combination of, say, battery technology and electrical engineering, whatever, and something on chemistry, because that's necessary for these batteries, I don't know. So a combination of in-depth knowledge, because they make their own path, and it's still very in-depth. They are expert in some things, but they can talk to other people, and they can see it at the system level, they can integrate. Yeah, so that's the dream, and that's where we're working onwards in small steps. But yeah, I believe in this.
And I also think it comes back to the fact that being very technical doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be that you're super good at your new job, because it might be that that's just slightly off your very technical area, and that means that you have to relearn all of the technical stuff. So being good at learning means that you will be good at learning your new technical stuff, and thereby actually becoming even better at that very specific technical thing. So you might not need to learn that very specific technical thing at the university. You can learn that in your new job. And that was also what you were saying, Klaus, that people want to learn at their job as well. They want to grow there. So there you also have that.
You're absolutely right. I mean, university as also in school, you can create the foundation. You really have to be very excellent in your skills and your technical skills. But if it comes to practice, every day you will learn technical issues, and every day you will learn how to collaborate. What are the mechanisms of interaction? But you have to be aware that there is something beyond. There has to be something. Where are the red buttons or the green buttons if I interact with my colleagues? And so you really can put the foundation during university or learning nuggets or further education. But when it comes to practice, it takes place in the practice.
Okay, thank you very much for this second part of the panel discussion, which we will not end before we do a question to the audience. On Slido, you will see the question which we ask you to react on. And the question is, in my opinion, co-creation is, and you can choose between 3 options. The first option is, so you can start answering right now. Co-creation is A, opportunity to solve central or grand societal challenges, or B, very much needed in educational opportunities to make it come true, and C, it's a buzzword, not very yet sufficient approach to tackle societal challenges. Just think in your head sort of music that could be played now while you answer this question. And when the people in the back office see that this is the outcome we want to have, then we can push on the button and see what the result is. Maybe they're still waiting for one or two more. Oh, there you go. Well, the majority thinks that it's indeed an opportunity to solve the central societal challenges, which, if I guess it right, this is good news for the members in the panel. But still, 18% thinks it's merely a buzzword. Who wants to react on this from the panel?
I can go forward. So I'm happy to see that the majority shares my opinion, of course. And I will derive an analogy of that. Even if you're in a company like BMW or whatsoever, you have to collaborate with all the other disciplines like body and white, paint shop, assembly, and research and development. So if you want co-creation is daily business in our industry. It's not a buzzword. It's really about how we work together and use different perspectives, use different competencies to really bundle it and to focus it to solve, let's say, BMW problems or solutions for our customers, but you can easily do an analogy to societal problems. So, and I fully disagree with that is only a buzzword. It is a buzzword if you do nothing.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other reactions from the people in the panel?
Yeah, I was reflecting on it, and I think we were saying that that we kind of agree with the buzzword thing. I think buzzwords often, people often feel something is buzzword if it's not well defined. And we must admit, we had to reflect on what this event meant when they say co-creation, because that is not our definition of co-creation. So I think in that way, it kind of becomes a buzzword because we use it in very different settings and to define very different things, and then stuff tend to become very fluffy.
Yeah, and especially if you haven't tried it or haven't tried a version of co-creation yourself. And I think we can go back to the whole openness that we were talking about earlier. And if you haven't experienced the openness, and I've definitely, I would really be interested in seeing if these 18% are students, because we have been to events where there have been this, oh, we want to hear the students. And then in reality, the student had no voice and there were actually no co-creation present, despite of that actually being the purpose. So maybe there are some of the students that have experienced these unfortunate events also.
And is it, despite the question, I will not ask if you're now satisfied with the voice you have in this panel. Yes. I'm interested to hear, because you say we have a different understanding of what this word means, of what this concept means. And because we heard in the keynotes, we had the perspective from university, perspective from industry. What is an essential difference in how you approach it to what you have heard before?
Yeah, I think as you describe it, it is really a collaboration between different kind of stakeholders. As we have been taught co-creation at our university, it's a very specific way to make workshops to co-create something, a product or a service or something like that. Whereas I see it, you define it more as like a broader collaboration that can happen in all sorts of different settings.
Okay.
And both can be true.
And both can be true, definitely. Yeah, it's just for us, it defines a very specific way to work, and for you, it defines a mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But thank you very much. This is also supported by someone from the audience who says, but co-creation had different meanings from different people. Are we actually talking about the same thing? Yes. So this, I think, supports also what you're saying. And I also see the other panel members also nodding to this. So maybe this is also something we cannot solve here, but maybe this might also be a sort of step to take in this project, right? I mean, this project doesn't end today. Luckily, it doesn't. So perhaps that can also be something that will be discussed, will be defined, and therefore will be helpful in making the future steps. I'd like to move forward to the third topic of this panel discussion, and also again ask the people in the audience. It's really appreciated that you do indeed post these questions, because we can use them also to steer the discussion in this panel. So thank you much so far, and please also work with us on the next topic. And the next topic is the responsible talents, the human-centered engineering. We heard about sustainable and societal cohesion in Europe as a factor for success. That was part of many of the things we heard so far. So the question is, and I asked it to all five of you. So what do you think? How could this project EuroTeQ? How can it help to achieve this?
I think by creating a universal set of values, by working together and by co-creating, you share with other people. And if we have this European way of thinking that is sustainable, that is innovative, and everything that we've been talking about, then co-creation really needs to go with this idea of sharing values, sharing with each other, and having this same mindset on creating a future.
Okay, you're introducing something that's also something I'd like to ask how the other panel members think about. You're saying we should set up in this project a universal set of values at the base, perhaps, of the future steps, right? So how do the other panel members think about this? Is that too ambitious or not ambitious enough? Or
no, I think it's important. I think we need to, for me, I think we need to empower staff to make really changes in education, and to really make these changes towards more sustainable, innovative, and challenge-based or another new education model. So, and I think these values are key. Also, the big 5 traits, what were mentioned earlier, this openness for new things, this daring to deal with these new approaches. So I like the idea of these common values. If we would be able to share this among, so not only in the EuroTeQ participants, these 100 people, I think they are already quite sharing the same values because they believe in this. But the big challenge is to transform that towards the whole university and over all these different universities. I think that's the biggest challenge. But if we can find a way to make that happen, that would be great.
I completely agree with the shared value. I think that was a really good point. And one way we can solve the structural issues that can be connected to the whole co-creation issue is by having a common goal and a common value that we're working towards. That will also create a natural structure. So I think that was a really good suggestion.
Okay, so getting enthusiastic. Also interested to know, Mr. Köhler, how is this from the industry perspective? You did mention something about, for example, the importance of diversity in your teams. Is that something
the idea of the EuroTeQ, bringing together different perspectives and different competencies is essential and is also shared by BMW. So I mentioned this in my keynote, to really bring in the different perspectives and daring to do and to conduct a controversy. And I think it's essential because in other countries like China or also in the States, they are really moving fast. And I can also bring an example from BMW. So we are very diverse team here. We are worldwide. We have different tasks in different countries and so on. But what we do have in common, our foundation of bringing our power to the street, is that we share common values. I mentioned that in my keynote. That's the basis, the really basis of our work. Respect and so on. I don't repeat that. And I think that is essential, and I fully agree with the mentioned before, that this will be one of the key elements to have common values within the Eurotech. And I can only tell from my perspective as a BMW representative, we are very, very open to be part of this, and really looking forward to contribute and do whatever it takes to really foster this Eurotech initiative. I like it very much.
Thank you very much. There is also somebody who reacts on this idea, and by the way, it's very good that this was now put in this discussion as a new element, perhaps at least for this discussion line. So it's interesting that also people are now reacting on this. The question or reaction is equality, green deals, secure society. This also demands that all our lecturers need to take that into consideration. Are we ready to teach that?
I think it should be encouraged. All of these new things there, for example, the solar powered SUV car that we're talking about. Why not create a sustainability label? Why not create projects like this, that co-creation between universities, but also sort of competition between European universities that also shares values, because a competition, you all have the same goal, you all want to win, of course, but you get the same sense of accomplishment and of working towards something better. And I think there can be like some sort of label, some sort of encouragement for these projects that are more sustainable oriented, that can be done, and that can give more power to groups to work towards this type of thing.
Okay, thank you very much. Now that we're talking about this, and I can also ask the question to you, do we need for this project a set of values, or can we just lean on what European Union, European Commission has put as a sort of set of universal goals as a basis of their programs, on which also this project is based on? Or is that not enough? Is it not specific enough?
We need to know exactly what they have. I don't know myself really. So I know I was also part in a co-creation EU project earlier. So I know there it's very clear. So yeah, these values are fine. I think they are not yet transferred towards all our partners now in the consortium. So I think this is what the project also will do. Whether only EU, I think we are also engineering universities, so perhaps this makes it then more concrete. But the sustainable goals and these kind of things, yeah, I think we are also ready for it. Okay. At least in Eindhoven, I think at several universities, we are really now ready to apply it.
And I think so the value topic is really not so easy. It sounds easy, but definitely it is not. What I would find very helpful is, and Professor Müller mentioned it at his opening speeches, the strong common vision of Eurotech. I think that must be the very beginning of this journey, and communicate and share that strong common vision. That would really help before going too deep into values.
Okay. I see somebody from the audience who put a remark, a comment, not a question, but perhaps that's something you could react on. Somebody says, just a comment, I think the biggest challenge for academics and universities in general is to gain a more pragmatic perspective sometimes. Try new approaches.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah. There are, so I think we do. There are many innovative teachers and who are, say, the front runners who do. But yeah, we should empower more people to do it and just be indeed pragmatic. Just talk to other people, be open, try out. But this going out of the comfort zone, deal with some of these uncertainties, and yeah. We are open and helping. The hand is there to help people to co-create also in this sense.
And also, I would say a kind of motto. It's from invention to innovation. That would be really helpful to bring really this excellent substance in the university down to a practice and put on the user perspective when it comes to invention and innovation.
And maybe a last point is really to also put the resources into it, because I know at least some of the really good co-creation courses and all of the more soft management courses at DTU are the ones that are, it's the first courses that are canceled that that students can't take anymore in order to allow for more technical courses, which I think what we established in this conversation, that might not be what is needed. So putting in the resources is really important as well.
But thank you very much, Catherine. That's, I think, a very important one. That's also practice what you preach. So if we all think this is so important, that we all think it's so crucial, then it should also be seen in the way how we react. That this is not something we only preach, but also act accordingly. Thank you. I
really like that comment, really.
So,
it's really good.
Been noted. So it's very good also to, we're almost coming to the end of the panel discussion, but not before we take a look at what our graphic recorder, Mr. Matthias Schweitz, has drawn for us. So can we please see your results?
So again, unmute. So for the first, you see in the middle the students, I call it business at the left side, and the universities. So we were talking about the balance, what they have to have. And you see there the different things the organizations or the students or the universities have to do. What the business can offer is the learn in the job, and the universities has to offer structure, and then it's a bit. This is a picture where you can see the students are in the middle of this thing, and this is like a yeah, how you call a wippe. It's where on the one side there are the universities, and the other side there are the business, and they all have to work together, and they have to have something like a balance. And I have put a big figure at the top of this whole construction, and it's I call it, I let them speak, and it's saying something like, I know what I'm doing, and what the target is, what I'm doing for, and I have to, there have to be someone to moderate this thing. So, and the next thing is the question about the co-creation. And so there are different definitions of this word co-creation, and yeah, so you have to define it, and therefore the next is also this to look for the better future, to define what the Eurotech initiative is standing for, and you're talking about common values and common goals, and you need a structure. So all of these people who are concerned in this. So I call it also, again, business and university and students. They have to have the same why they are doing it. And then it's, if they have a strong vision, so they will have, yeah, the energy to solve or to make a good future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schweitz, for this drawing. And again, we will have it sent to all the people in the audience so that you can have a good look at the results of the graphic summary of this meeting. I'd like to end with a poll question for the audience, and that will be put now in the screen, and that's going to be a word cloud. So could you type with one word or words separated from each other, what competencies for young professionals do you consider most important? And we start with that, and already the people in the panel can start thinking about how to react on this once they see the word cloud. So that's going to be after that. And it says that you can add more than one word. So you don't have to, it's good news, so you can add more. Still no music. So is everybody almost, I think that most people are now thinking what to write down. So there's still room for more contributions. And the team behind the screen will decide when we stop it and show the word cloud. Okay. There we go. It's still open, so you can still contribute, but this is also an opportunity for the members of the panel to see what's on people's minds when they talk about what competencies are most important in this topic. For all panel members, the question is, can you react on this? Is something surprising, or do you miss a word, or do you want to underline a word? And the other question is also, and that's also, I think, an important question for this project. Can we pick your brain, please? Could you very shortly give a top recommendation to the EuroTeQ universities? What problem should they tackle next year? So can you give an advice on that? So 2 questions. What do you think the EuroTeQ project should pick up as a problem to tackle or things to do? And can you react on this word cloud about competencies? Is there any of the 5 panel members who would like to start?
We were just discussing, because we're sitting 2 and we can, but that all the words in the word cloud are soft skills, as we talked about. We have no hard technical words in the word cloud. And I think that's very interesting to note, and also something to take forward. Are the universities prioritizing putting their resources to teaching the students these soft skills, or allowing them the time and the schedule to, for instance, do extracurricular activities, as we mentioned earlier, as a good place where you learn these soft skills? Are we enabling the students to learn this?
Okay. And so this is also a reaction on the word cloud, but as well an advice on what to focus on in this project, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
So reaction from my side. It's again, I'm a pretty fundamentalist, I admit, but never forget an excellent, sound university technical education. These skills are essential. It's just adding or balancing a little bit more through these soft skills. I mean, I fully agree with all these skills seeing on the board here, no doubt about that. But it's not the one or the other. It's just a combination, and it's not creating a superhuman. It's really to go on a balanced way, which is also a short recommendation for universities to really focus in their trainings, in their education on these overarching competencies and soft skills. And the other thing I would love to see is when the Eurotech is intensifying the link to industry. I was really happy to get invited to this panel discussion, but to be honest, it was my first contact with Eurotech, and that is a pity because we could really. I do not want to use the co-creation word again, but we can really learn and give really an impact to education and the qualification competencies, and therefore our power as Europe.
I see a lot of these soft skills are very open-minded, flexibility. I can almost think of travel, of experiencing different things, of this curiosity also I saw somewhere. And I think that Eurotech needs to focus on these things, which are, you're not only a student in your university, you're a European student that has a broader view. I'm not just, for example, I'm not doing TUM in Munich to go to BMW, but as a student working somewhere else as a European student. So I'm coming up not only as a student from my university, I'm coming up as a European student that has this curiosity and everything. And that way I can have the flexibility to go work wherever I want in Europe. So it's something that was not talked about before, but it's this specialization between universities of often people that come out of a university work close to the university or work to a country closer to it. For it, it's easier. There are a lot of companies outside, and I think that Eurotech should focus on this idea that this travel of being flexible and having this curiosity of being able to discover other companies in other countries, and learning new experiences.
Thank you very much. And last of the panel is Professor Raymond.
Yes, I liked many of these competences related to flexibility. It's related to what I mentioned, like dealing with uncertainty. What I missed is more learning to learn. This was mentioned by one of the ladies. I think that's the key competence we have to teach to students, is that they learn to learn. And my recommendation for the EuroTeQ consortium is that they, in everything they do, which can be sometimes very complex and bureaucratic or whatever, but always put students learning central. For me, that would be the main important recommendation, because that's why we do this. Put the student learning central in everything.
Thank you very much. And later on, we'll really finalize this meeting. But before I finalize and I close the meeting, I'd like to put some attention to a new website, and perhaps you can see a screenshot from this new website, and that is something that I invite you all, in name of the project leadership, to visit. You can see all about the projects that are being already put in the schedule will be designed, and you also find information about all the partners participating, as well as their mission and their vision. And you also will find information about associate partners. You also find offers that projects creates to engage in. So talking about co-creation, talking about opening up. That's, I think, a good example in the next months and years. These initiatives for everyone: learners, academic staff members, external partners, and there's also for students. There is a catalog opened with over 50 courses students can take online in the next autumn-winter semester 2021 and engaged in virtual mobility. So that's also, I think, a very good thing to check up, and it will also keep you updated about new events. There's already one save the date that I can give you, and that's the annual high-level event of the EuroTeQ Universities Alliance, and this will take place on November the 10th this year. And it's already, you know, they're already organizing a very nice program because it's also at the same time when they celebrate their 10 years anniversary in 21. Yeah, so it follows the anniversary's slogan, Empowering Society. And the event will explore the benefits and added value technology has for society. Well, very much also the theme we've been discussing today. I'd like to thank many people, the people who talked to us, who were here with us already, starting with Professor Gerhard Müller, who opened this meeting. Thank you very much for his welcome words. But I'd also like to thank very much the keynote speakers and panelists, Professor Isabel Raymond and Klaus Köhler. Thank you very much for your very inspiring words, which also put the base on what we furthermore discussed in the panel. So thank you very much for that. I also like the other members of the panel discussion, Nicolas Tarmot, Sophie Berglik-Agard, and Catherine Jensen. And it was fantastic to also see that you didn't automatically agree with everything that was said, but that we had a true discussion and even managed to do an interaction with the audience, so here and there. And then you were also able to react on whatever was being put at the table. So thank you very much for a very interesting discussion. Thank you very much for that. I also like to thank Matthias Schweitz for his illustration. And as I said before, they will be sent to you, or in any other way you will be able to receive it, so you can look at it in detail. We can see that there is lots of detail to be studied, so it's good that we have some time after this meeting to do so. I'd like to thank very much the organizers of this event. A special thank goes to all the people from the Technical University of Munich. We are all virtual together. And although I'm now in Arnhem in the Netherlands, I feel that I'm a little bit in Munich too. So thank you very much for the hospitality being there. Very sorry that I cannot enjoy the pleasures of Munich, but somehow in some other time we will for sure do that. Thank you very much the people from the EuroTech Engineering Program Office, who was also very busy with this, and all the people and the colleagues from Teltech who did all the technical organization. And well, of course, we're now getting used to these online events, but still I'm every time so much amazed about how much technology comes to make this event work like this. So thank you very much, all the people, the entire team who worked on this. There are, in my preparation with this, there are two names I want to mention specifically, and that is Marita Mau, who has been, I think, working day and night last few days to arrange everything. She was behind the screen, you couldn't see her, but she was very much present in all the preparation. Thank you very much, and very, very good. And also Crystal Toom from Tallinn, who is also working very hard on this. And I forget many other people, and thanks to them too. Thank you, audience. Thank you very much. It's awful not to be able to see you and look into a stupid camera instead of seeing the audience itself. But looking at the screen where you put your questions and the way you interacted with the quality of questions, I see that you are very committed and very much involved. Thank you very much for that. I hope that you all had a good time, and I wish the project all the success and all the good luck, and I have so much confidence that it will indeed pull it off and will have great success. Have a great day, and thank you very much.
Thank you.